Hi there, so this is going to be a video to point out some really common mistakes that I've heard Spanish teachers use when they are teaching English. So native Spanish speakers use when they are teaching English. I've lived and taught in Spain for 10 years now, and recently I started working in a school. I'm working as an auxiliary in Madrid, and the school that I'm working at uses a really good method. It's called AMCO. AMCO method is an immersion method. It's very good for the children. They've got lots of access, lots of repetition to vocabulary, but unfortunately, at least in the school where I'm at in Spain, the teachers are not provided with support and resources to improve or maintain their level of English. So I thought it might be useful for you guys just to hear the mistakes and learn from the mistakes that I've been noticing over the past few months. So I'm not picking at anybody. I'm not making this video to say, oh, how awful you are. It's genuinely a learning resource so that we can improve the quality of the teaching that our children receive. So I've organised a list, and I've separated it into sections, and the first section is vocabulary. I mean, the wonderful thing about the AMCO method is that the children have to lead an assembly. They take turns to lead an assembly, and they do a roll call. They take the register at the beginning of the class, and I've heard it said by teachers that a child is missing. That this sentence, Juan, where is Juan? Juan is missing. No, he's not missing. He's probably at home with his mum or with his dad or with the babysitter. Maybe he's in the hospital. Maybe he's really sick, but he's not missing. If he was missing, there would be a big police search and everything would be on the news. Children are not missing if they're not at school. So the formal expression that we would use, that the teacher would probably put on the register, is he's absent. But the informal way and the more appropriate way for small children is that he is at home or he is not here today. He's at home or he's not here. Then I've got a couple of phrasal verb issues here. I love phrasal verbs. I know you Spanish people or Latin rooted language speakers don't really get phrasal verbs because they're just not natural to you guys. I understand that. And there's a couple here that I wanted to point out that I've heard in class. So I heard one teacher say to the children, up your hand if you are happy. Up your hand. Up is a preposition, it's not a verb. So she was nearly there, the actual expression is put up your hand. So the verb is put and the preposition is up. So the up tells you where she wants you to put the hand. So it could be put down your pencils, or put your bags on the table, or put on your coat. But in this case she wanted the children to raise their hand, so you can say raise your hand, or more informally, which is more appropriate for small children, you can say put your hand up. Put up your hand or put your hand up. Put your hand up if you like macaroni. The other phrasal verb was to look through the window. I'm not 100% sure about this because I've heard it so many times, but I think it's wrong. I would say look out of the window. Look through is when something is transparent and you can see through it, and it's transparent. But a window, you're inside the room and you want to look out to the outside of the room, outside of the property, and you want to see what's happening outside, maybe what the weather is like. So I would say look out the window, have a look out the window. What's the weather like today? What can you see? Have a look out the window. One that's computer related. I know that with computers we say copy and paste something, right? And that's or cut and paste. But when we're talking about sticking or gluing pieces of paper or puzzles, we use the verb to stick or to colour, to stick or to paste. Oh God, I'm not going to start again. This is the third time I've started this video. So when we're talking about pieces of paper and putting them on another piece of paper with some glue, we use the word glue as a verb. To glue something on the piece of paper or to stick something. So you'd say stick it down there or glue it over there, or stick it here. And another one that's a verb is pintar. We would say paint only if you're using a paintbrush, an actual paint. If you're not using paint, you're using crayons, the verb is to colour. Again, taking a noun like glue and making it a verb, to glue something, or colour and making it a verb, to colour. Colour it blue. Colour the bird brown. So paint is with a paintbrush, and colour is for crayons and pencils. The last one for the vocabulary section is when we use somebody's age as an adjective. So I can say it. I can say in one way. I can say I am 34 years old. Okay, years there is plural because I'm 34 years old. I'm talking about the number. But when it's an adjective of me, I am a 34-year-old woman. I am a 34-year-old woman. Please sit down properly. Do you want to go and sit with the 3-year-old children? When it's an adjective, when you're describing the children, you're describing someone, the S on the word year is not necessary. We don't need it. It's wrong to put it there. Okay, moving on to questions. Question structures are really different in English to how they are in Spanish. So I think it's especially important to get these structures right when you're repeating these to the children every day. And it's their first exposure, and it is such high exposure with these wonderful methods that we've got now of teaching English. So if they're being repeated every day, it's even more important that they're correct structures that we are burning into the minds of our little ones. So one that I find really strange that I've heard wrong is how's the weather? Or what's the weather like today? These are the correct versions. How's the weather? Or what's the weather like today? You might put songs on for your children. You've probably heard these songs a million times. But sometimes the sentence, when we come to form the sentence, I mean, for example, I use one of the songs from Dream English. Matt, everybody loves Matt. How's the weather? How's the weather? Well, I've put that song on in class for the kids, and then I've heard the teacher ask the children, how's the weather is today? No. The questions are, how's the weather, or what's the weather like today? More questions. I've heard, as I leave the classroom, the children are encouraged to say thank you to me. So the question would be, oh, what do you say to Elizabeth? And I've heard the teachers say to the children, how do you say to Elizabeth? It's not how do you say, it's what. What do you say to Elizabeth? And they would say, thank you, see you tomorrow, or something like that. Okay. Okay, questions with do. Right, let's start. I'm going to start this from a different place. So the question, what day is it today? Or where is he? This is a simple question, isn't it? What day is it today? With the question word and then the inversion of the verb to be. What day is it? Where is he? Okay, but if you're changing that question and you want to ask the children, do you know what day it is today? Do you know where he is? So the do you know is the question. It's a yes or no question. But the what day is it is no longer a question. Do you know what day it is? Because it's not a question, do you know what day it is? It's the subject and then the verb. Do you know where he is? They're more complicated questions. I can understand that they can get confused. Moving on now to reported speech type questions. Reported speech questions. Sometimes I get to the class and the teacher hasn't actually come yet, so I get the kids settled down, and when the teacher comes in, she asks the children what they've done already as part of their routine, and sometimes those sentences get a little bit confused because they're reported speech type questions. So she wants to know whether the leader or the helper for the day has asked the other children how they are. So the question should be, have you asked your friends how they are? Have you asked your friends how they are? And I've heard this question wrong from many different teachers, and I've heard structures like, have you asked to your friends? So that's wrong in itself, because we don't ask to somebody, we ask somebody. Have you asked your friends? And then the next little question is not a question. The next clause of this is not a question. So have you asked your friends how they are? Because the question in itself, the helper would say, hello friends, how are you? That's a question, how are you? But when it's reported speech, it's not a question. You're not asking her or the friends how they are. So the correct sentence, if you want to know whether your teacher's helper has asked a question to their friends, the correct question is, have you asked your friends how they are? So that's similar to the do you know how they are question structure, Have you asked your friends how they are? Okay. Pronouns. There's a bit of an issue with pronouns that I've seen. I've heard teachers pick up a hat or the babbies, we call them in Spain, the jacket, something like that, and they say, who is this? Not who is this, whose. That's the possessive pronoun, like de quién es, whose is this, not quién es, de quién es, whose is this. And then the use of two pronouns together when we're talking about relative pronouns. So, this is just an example. Put one hand on your shoulder, the other hand on your tummy. And this is the mistake that I've heard. Okay, the hand that it is on your tummy, put it on your head. So, the hand that it is on your tummy is incorrect, because we don't need two pronouns together. We don't need to say that it is, because that and it are both pronouns. So we would say the hand that is on your tummy. Put the hand that is on your tummy on your head. Put the hand that is on your tummy on your head. Another small issue, but it's still really important, is the conjugation of people. In Spanish, la gente is singular, but in English, people doesn't use the third person s conjugation of any verb. So, people who want to go to the toilet, please go now. People who don't want to go, don't go. The people are angry because the people are, not the people is, people are. Yeah. Reported speech. Okay, and then we've had a bit of an issue with past tenses, the simple past and the irregular past participles. Again, a similar situation where a teacher comes into the room late and wants to know if the children have sung the hello song. I've heard, have you singed the hello song? Or sing even, I don't even know if she makes an effort to make it ed, singed. Oh, that's not correct. You have to use the third column. Sing, sang, sung. So have you sung the hello song yet? And another situation is good afternoon. Why is it afternoon? Because I've had my lunch. I have eaten lunch. And I've heard teachers try and explain I have eat lunch. No, you need the third person. You need the third column. The past participle. I have eaten lunch. Or I've had lunch is even better, really, because we don't say I've eaten lunch so much. I've had lunch. The last section, 17 minutes. The last section is the use of the gerund, which is the ing form. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail, but I've heard misuse of the present continuous. So I've heard, are you sit down properly? And it's not, are you sit down properly? Are you sitting down properly? Are you sitting down properly? And imperatives. You can say, don't run, or no running. So no run is not acceptable. You have to say, don't run, or no running, please. And that's it. A 17-minute video on the most basic mistakes that I've seen. I hope that you find it useful, and please don't take offence. And if you've managed to watch this all the way through, thank you.